Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 404 for the 3rd of April. And you should have noticed that if you are watching on YouTube, that this is on the DPA main channel, the Defense Politics Asia main channel, which means I got back one of the channels. And the DPA War channel will likely to be coming back very soon because just before recording, I has gotten back the email, the Google account that is attached to DPA War channel. So good news, and thank you for all your support. I believe that it is the DPA army that allows us to defeat these treacherous VDVs from these hackers that hostel melt me into oblivion. So anyway, let's start off with the biggest news. As usual, it's going to be in the Bakhmut Front. So in the Bakhmut Front, we have some updates in terms of the fighting and some change in the front line. But before we go into that, Prigozhin press service has announced, based from information from Prigozhin himself, the Wagner boss, that the person that is the mastermind of this entire Bakhmut offensive that is led by the Wagner group is actually masterminded by Surovikin, our dear Surovikin, which I hope I actually put it on the thumbnail. So yeah, it's the bald cute little guy that looks like a smiling Buddha that don't smile. So anyway, and this is just very interesting that he said that Surovikin have direct part in his development and implementation of the plan while he was heading the group, and a lot of decisions was made by him. So interesting for those that are pro-Russian or Russian fans of this conflict, as if this is like a football game, but technically it's just like a football game. So anyway, the biggest update is actually the Russian forces have captured this area. So this entire area here, all the way to the river, has been taken over by the Russian forces. And previously the front line was only here, and it was like this. And it seems like the Russians either push it from the south or they push in from the northeast. And so the front line now looks a bit like this, with the Russian forces continue to make push along multiple points at the front line. So fighting is reported in central Bakhmut that allows this capture of this area here, and there is also fighting reported along Boris Gobotova Street, which is reported by Riba, which is actually this street here. And there's also fighting reported along the Pashina Street, which is actually this street here. And there's fighting reported at Bakhmutska Street, which is this street here. And all this information coming from different sources. The last two is by Deep State UA. Riba reported also Bakhmutska Street, but however they are talking more towards the Avdiivka Stadium, which is actually here. This is the Avdiivka Stadium, and this one, this is the Avdiivka Stadium, and they are talking about this street here. And there's also fighting being reported at Shiroka Street according to Deep State UA, which is actually this street. And there's also fighting reported southwest of Bakhmut according to SUROVIKIN maps, where the Russians make some push in the southwest here. So if you look at this in the central to south fronts of the Bakhmut, there is push in these directions. And if this is what we are seeing, you can see that there is a closing of some sort of a pincer around this area, which the Ukrainian forces in this area will have to withdraw, or they will be in deep trouble. And the information from SUROVIKIN maps about the southwest actually corroborates what was reported yesterday by Deep State UA about the saturation along Central Street, which is here. So the Ukrainian the Russian forces, wrong color, the Russian forces are pushing in this direction, in this salient here, which is trying to push northward towards somewhere. So, and in the northern part, we have fighting reported near in the outskirts of the railway station. Railway station is here, and this is particularly interesting because based on the latest rumors that I saw reported by Military Chronicles, a pro-Russian source, they say that this area here has been captured by the Russian forces. The railway station had been captured by the Russian forces, which I just gonna take it as rumor for now. That I saw that information just before recording, so but which also does means that that this is the trajectory of where the Wagner forces is currently attacking in the northern part. In the northwestern part, there is fighting reported along Zelina Street, which is this street here. The Russian forces pushing there, and they are also fighting along this area here. There's a school that was mentioned. I'm not too sure exactly where. So yeah, somewhere here there's fighting. Information's coming from Raiba and SUROVIKIN maps. Raiba is the one that mentioned the clear the territory of the school number 24. I'm able to find this on the map, but I don't think it's very important because the front line going to change really quickly. And the one at Zelina Street also is reported by Raiba. And so that's the situation over here at Bakhmut city. And there is also fighting reported at Ivanytsky, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And further up north, we have a geolocation of Russian forces at this position, according to Deep State UA. At this position, which actually then pushed the front line south again. Previously, the front line was here. So the Ukraine front line push all the way here, but because of the geolocation, the front line actually is likely to be around here. And this means this is a trench network, it seems, based on the footages, which means that the Russian forces do have some kind of a fire control over the road from this height area here just off the road. And there's also the latest information from SUROVIKIN maps, according just before recording as well. They reported that the Russian forces has entered Bodanivka and now entering the first buildings of the town while fighting the Ukrainian forces, which means the Russian forces have finally decided to make the push into Bodanivka after holding the front line for a very long time. And the Ukrainian forces is definitely there to hold them back. So fighting is ongoing. And moving on, in the north of it, there is fighting reported at Orikovo Vasilivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And then, so largely, in terms of the frontline wise, I don't think there is any major move. Although it seems like the Russians are pushing Bodanivka. Oh my god, this is some horrible arrows. So let's draw it again. So it seems like the Russians are pushing here and pushing Ivanytsky, but I got a feeling that they are not making very huge move as they are awaiting the Ukrainian counteroffensive to happen. So everybody is just waiting, which is why the information of fighting does seem to be really sparse. And in the south of the Bakhmut front, the Ukrainians actually continued their counteroffensive in this area here of Ozyarenivka. So fighting is being reported at Ozyarenivka according to SUROVIKIN maps, and they also updated the front line near Koryamivka. To show that the front line currently looks like this. This mapping is also corroborated by Deep State UA, as I checked this Deep State UA's mapping. Although the area here differs, is different. However, this area here seems to be rather certain that the Russian forces have this area just off Koryamivka. So that's all from the Bakhmut front. Moving on to the next front, we shall go to Avdiivka Front. At the Avdiivka Front, there is fighting reported at Novokalinove. Oops, wrong button. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, there is fighting reported near Krasnohorivka. The fighting towards Stepove is still not happening. As I mentioned, the Russian forces seems to be holding back because of the impending Ukrainian counteroffensive that is highly publicized, and I think the Russians are just reinforcing their lines and waiting for the offensive to happen. And maybe it's just a ploy from the Ukrainian side to stop the Russian offensive, so that the Ukrainians can actually build up their forces and reinforce better. So, but the Russians are taking the threat very seriously. Fighting is reported at Avdiivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, Zhevene, Pervomaiske, and south of Pervomaiske. All the information is from Ukrainian Defense Ministry except for the one at south of Pervomaiske is reported by SUROVIKIN maps. And the Russian forces was pushing in this direction, capturing some places, and while the fighting is still ongoing at Pervomaiske. Yeah. So in terms of the Avdiivka front, my feeling from the look of all the reports, it seems like these are not really pushes. These are not really very big push, but it feels more like some kind of pinning movement than actual offensive. While they are waiting for the Ukrainian forces to come. And moving away from the Avdiivka front, we go into the West Donetsk front. West Donetsk front. In the Marinka region, we have fighting reported at Marinka and the north of Marinka. Information coming from Ryba and as well as the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. In the south of Marinka, we have fighting reported by the Russian Defense Ministry, where they reported the Ukrainians tried to launch a breakthrough of the Russian lines, and however the DRG forces were defeated. The Ukrainians were attacking around this area. According to the story that was being reported, they said that the Ukrainians launched the attack, and they were contacted, and 8 of the soldiers were taken out. So the rest of the soldiers actually retreated into the forest belt. And it is because of the forest belt that I realized that it's not going to be around Marinka. So it's going to be south of here. And the only significant forest belt is actually around this area. So which means the Ukrainian forces actually attacked maybe the Russian lines around this area. After it failed, they actually turn around and go back into the forest line. And however, the Russians also reported that they actually shelled the hell out of them in the forest line. So yeah, so hopefully they survived. Quite sad. They say that this is attacked by UAV with drones. So this force that was attacking this area, wrong color, this area here likely isn't a very big force. Likely to be a quite small force to use a UAV to attack them. Moving on, there is shelling reported at Novomikhailivka, and there is also shelling reported at Voleda. Nothing particularly special about all this. And that's all from the West Donetsk front. Moving into the Zaporizhia region, we have geolocation of Russian forces at Dorozhenka, and this also shows that the Russians still have total control over the town here. And away from Dorozhenka, let me see, I think there was something. Okay, so there is a lot of hype about Ukrainian forces gathering around Orikhiv, this area here. And the projection by the pro-Russian sources is that the Ukrainians are going to launch an offensive southward from Orikhiv region. Let's see. I doubt it's going to be the case. If the east is not going to be very big, but it seems like the case. And moving on into the Kreminna front. At the Kreminna region, as usual, the fighting is being reported at Torske, according to War Gonzo. Shelling is reported near Dibrova. Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported fighting at Dibrova, Serebranske Forestry, and near Kreminna. Although these three all sounds like the same place. And there is also fighting reported at Bilohorivka in the Siversk front, south of the Marinka region, reported by War Gonzo. Nothing particularly very special around this area here, as the fighting is still ongoing in this method. North of the Kreminna front, we have fighting reported at Nevsky. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, Ryba reported further information saying that it's around the valley, the Zuravka valley, so which is actually this area here. So the fighting is actually around this area here. So not exactly at Nevsky. Moving on from the Kreminna front, we go into the SUROVIKIN region. And the SUROVIKIN region, we have shelling being reported at Avdiivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And into the Kupiansk region, we have shelling reported at Siversk, according to the Russian Defense Ministry as well. And that's all from the Kupiansk front. And so further, and that's all from the front line. And there's another thing that I want to show you guys, which is this. So according to this mapping that was posted by Sprinter99880 on Twitter, this is where I found it. This seems to show the deposition of Ukrainian forces. And it seems like in the Siversk front we have 13,000 Ukrainian troops. Sorry, wrong color again. Ukraine around this around the Siversk front, and just west of it there's 8,000 troops around here, north of the highway, and there are some troops, around 3,000 troops around this area. Rekovo, Vasilivka, there's 1,000 troops. In the Bakhmut region itself, this area here, there is quite significant number of forces. There is like 14,000 troops in this area here, fighting and to defend the Bakhmut salient, or the pincer of foot. Yeah, foot. And then there is another group called Adam that is holding the Chasivya region. And then we have a massive force of 13,000 by the Azov group all along the southern part of the Bakhmut front. And in the rear, they have another 8,000 at Konstantinivka, and further another 5,000 north of it in the small towns leading up to Kramatorsk. Kramatorsk has another 5,000, Sloviansk has another 5,000. And you can see that the number of forces is heavily concentrated in this region here. And if you do a quick count, there's like 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, 80,000, around 80,000 plus troops. This is a massive amount of commitment into this area here. And this is probably, done by pro-Russian sources, because there doesn't seem to be the Russian numbers, which will be interesting to know. And if you look at this this numbers here, you can see that the Ukrainian forces is likely, let me change another color, will be much more clearer. They're going to hold this area here, hold the front line. There's a huge force here with further reserves. So this is going to be a massive push, likely to be the massive push from the south of Bakhmut. And then there is a massive force here holding the Siversk front, but then there's a reserve force here. So this could be the offensive force. Based on this reserve, they might actually do the push into Soledar region. And this forces here is just going to hold the line, because there's not enough concentration. And it looks like with this force here, this force here, it looks like the major push is going to be south of Bakhmut, with this massive force of the Azov group, Adam group, and then all this is multiple number of reserves. This group may actually reinforce the group at Bakhmut. This group of reserve is going to go into the south, and perhaps this group might not look very big. Let's depend how they see it. The Ukrainian forces might actually push outwards from Bakhmut, and that they can actually do a pincer and encircle a force here, and then encircle another force here. This is a possibility. And it is pretty interesting how this is looking. But of course, don't take this for granted that this is real. This is just someone's illustration of what they think is the situation on the ground. Because this also might not be real. So what this group, yeah, then okay. So that's the summary for the day of 404. Which is 404, which is also meaning that it's missing. Yeah, so this SITREP is missing now. Yeah, missing day, missing channel. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.